You know those sleepless nights when thoughts tap against your temples like bitter drops? When you lie in the dark asking yourself, why couldn't I hold back again? Why did the promise I made to myself remain just empty words? How many times have you sworn to start a new life on Monday on New Year's Day, only to watch your resolve dissolve before a week has passed? Maybe right now there's a silent war raging inside you, between the impulse to give in and the deeper call to change, between the weakness that whispers, "Give up, it's beyond you," and the quiet inner voice that begs you to hold on just a little longer. That battle is exhausting. It hurts. It makes you doubt yourself. And yet it's in that very struggle that your real strength begins to grow. This is the birthplace of willpower. It's what lifts you after 100 failures, what carries you through the darkness of doubt toward the light of your goal. It's the invisible fire within that refuses to let hope die. Without it, we become slaves to whims and fleeting temptations, captives of our own weakness. With it, we gain the freedom to shape our lives. This monologue is an invitation to look inward and find the spark that can ignite your inner fire. We'll talk about what true willpower and self-discipline really are, how to stand firm in the face of temptation, how small daily habits can reshape your destiny, and what meaning hides within our struggles. This is the channel Procrustean Bed. My name is Roman, and I want to begin with a small apology. To soften my strong accent, I use AI narration. I hope this doesn't diminish your experience of the video. Also, if you enjoy this work, please give it a like and leave a comment, so it doesn't vanish into YouTube's endless abyss of recommendations. Imagine a small child sitting alone in a room, staring at a marshmallow on the table in front of them. Its sweet aroma fills the air. The child is told, you can eat it now, or wait 15 minutes, and then you'll get two. The temptation is close, bright, irresistible. Some children can't hold out and reach for the treat right away, but others clench their fists, turn away, cover their eyes with their hands, or even hum little songs just to distract themselves. 5 minutes, 10. They squirm in their seats, but they endure. And when the experimenter finally returns with a second marshmallow, their joy is boundless. They conquered themselves and earned their reward. This famous experiment by psychologist Walter Mischel became a classic in the science of self-control. Years later, researchers tracked those children down as adults. The ones who had waited were, on average, more successful at managing life. They pursued long-term goals, performed better academically, and showed greater resilience under stress. Just a marshmallow, yet it revealed so much about the trajectories of their lives. Life gives us tests like this all the time. The only difference is that the reward doesn't come in 15 minutes, but perhaps in 15 months, or even years. The student who does homework in the evenings instead of going out becomes a successful university graduate, then a professional reaping the fruit of effort. The musician who spends hours every day practicing scales and etudes instead of chasing distractions eventually walks on stage as a master. Every such journey begins with a small no to laziness today and ends with a resounding yes to a dream fulfilled tomorrow. So what's the secret of those children and adults who can wait for something better? It lies in a simple but difficult skill, the ability to put off an immediate desire for the sake of a greater goal. In other words, willpower. Psychologists call it the ability to delay gratification, to say no to the smaller thing today so you can say yes to something bigger tomorrow. We face this choice all the time. Want good health? Then you say no to midnight snacks and cigarettes. Dream of a successful career? Then after work, you open your textbooks instead of scrolling endlessly through social media. The essence is always the same. Eat your marshmallow now, or hold back and gain more later. It's no wonder people say that discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most, a line often attributed to Abraham Lincoln. Now take a step back and look at yourself. What's the marshmallow on your table? Maybe you've planned to prepare for an exam or learn a new skill, but every evening you choose a TV series or social media instead of a textbook. Or maybe you want to get in shape, yet every morning between going for a run and sleeping an extra hour, you pick sleep. These inner battles happen every day, and every small choice matters. Today's effort or today's compromise becomes tomorrow's success or disappointment. Our later is quietly born out of what we do now. But if we know all this, why is the choice still so hard? People have wrestled with this question for centuries. The Greek philosopher Aristotle called this weakness akrasia, when you know what's right, but fail to do it because willpower falters. Modern science adds another explanation. Our brain has a quick reward system. Every time we get something pleasant, it releases dopamine, a hit of pleasure. Immediate rewards give us dopamine right away, while distant goals don't spark the same response in the moment. The brain treats them as abstract, without that instant rush. That's why our hand reaches for the pastry or the phone instead of the long-term project. And this is where willpower comes in. The ability to project yourself into the future, to keep the value of your goal vivid in your mind, even when it doesn't feel rewarding in the moment. Our species is evolutionarily wired to value immediate rewards over distant ones. For early humans, now was critical. Eat, escape, find warmth, because tomorrow might never come. We inherited this mechanism. Instant pleasure moves us to act more easily than a delayed benefit. But we are not doomed to remain slaves of instinct. We have imagination and reason, tools that let us look ahead and consciously restrain ourselves for the sake of the future. That is willpower. The American psychologist Roy Baumeister, who devoted much research to self-control, concluded that willpower behaves like a muscle. If overstrained, it weakens. But with training, it grows stronger. In one of his experiments, participants were asked to resist the aroma of fresh cookies placed before them and snack instead on plain radishes. Afterward, they were given a difficult puzzle to solve. The results were telling. Those who had already spent energy resisting the cookies gave up on the puzzle twice as quickly as those who hadn't needed to exert that kind of restraint. Their willpower muscle was already fatigued. From this came the idea of ego depletion, the notion that each act of self-control temporarily drains our inner reserves. That's why, after a tough day, it's harder to keep yourself in check. Your willpower reserves have run low, and temptation has an easier time winning. Someone who stuck to a diet all day may suddenly binge at night, or someone who held back their emotions at work may explode at home over a small irritation. Sound familiar? That's the tired muscle of willpower in action. Modern research has refined the theory of ego depletion, but its core truth is something we all know from experience. Our ability to resist has limits in the moment. The good news is, those limits aren't fixed. Willpower can be trained and expanded. Roy Baumeister advised doing it in small steps. Like in the gym, gradually increase the load. For example, try going a week without adding sugar to your tea if you're used to drinking it sweet, or do a short workout every morning, even when you don't feel like it. At first, it feels forced, but each effort is like lifting a dumbbell for your muscle of self-discipline. Over time, you notice that self-control comes more easily, and it's wise to begin small. Let your first victory be something simple, like making your bed every morning. It may seem trivial, but it disciplines the mind. You start the day with a small act and prove to yourself, I can finish what I start. That ritual sets the tone for everything that follows. Each time you keep that promise to yourself, it's as if you're saying, I am in charge of my time and my choices. Step by step, confidence in yourself and your will grows stronger. Interestingly, self-control isn't only about the will to say no. It's also about the wisdom to organize your life so temptations don't appear as often in the first place. It's easier not to buy cookies at the store than to heroically resist them 10 times a day from the shelf. It's easier to turn off messenger notifications than to waste energy refocusing after every ping. This too is strategy, anticipating temptation and disarming it before it even arrives. A radical example, the ancient Greek orator Demosthenes. To force himself to study, he resorted to a peculiar trick. According to legend, he shaved half his head so he'd be too embarrassed to go out in public, leaving him no choice but to spend that time at home learning and practicing speeches. Odd, maybe, but he knew his weakness, and he cut off his path to retreat in advance. In the end, Demosthenes overcame his youthful shyness and became one of the greatest speakers of antiquity. Discipline may seem on the surface like limitation, but in truth, it grants freedom. No one is free who is not master of himself, wrote the Stoic Epictetus. If you do not govern yourself, then your desires, fears, or the will of others will govern you. Willpower hands the steering wheel of life back to you. The Roman emperor-philosopher Marcus Aurelius put it this way: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." We cannot always change our circumstances, but we can always change how we respond to them. That inner freedom is the core of willpower. A disciplined person feels confident because they know their life depends on them. Conquer one harmful habit or build one healthy one, and immediately you feel a surge of self-respect and freedom. To master yourself is to stop being a slave to chance. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the will to power, the inner drive to overcome one's former self and become a stronger version of it. His words are often misread as a thirst to dominate others, but Nietzsche primarily meant mastery over one's own weakness, the courage to go beyond the familiar. Willpower as the inner engine of growth. This was his true theme. By transforming ourselves, we ultimately transform the world around us. In this creative, noble sense, the will to power comes alive. Willpower enables us to choose distant goals, and like a muscle, it strengthens with practice. But what about habits? Here another vital element comes into play: the repeated actions that gradually shape our second nature. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit, Aristotle observed. Small, daily choices, repeated 100 times, harden into traits of character. First, we create habits, then habits create us. In the 18th century, American statesman Benjamin Franklin devised his own system of self-improvement. He identified 13 virtues and worked on one each week, tracking both successes and failures in a daily journal. Franklin admitted he never reached perfection in all of them, but the striving itself and the effort to grow filled his life with meaning and usefulness. His method still resonates today. By observing our habits and consciously adjusting them, we take charge of our development instead of leaving it to chance. When willpower helps us introduce a new habit or abandon a harmful one, a quiet transformation takes place. At first, it feels difficult. You must constantly monitor yourself, pulling forward as if by the collar. But as weeks and months pass, what once felt like struggle becomes second nature. Scientists explain this through neuroplasticity. The brain rewires its connections to support the new behavior. The new path gradually strengthens, while the old one weakens. A habit is like a forest trail. The more often you walk it, the clearer and deeper it becomes. At first, cutting it through the undergrowth was painful, but with every step it gets easier. Meanwhile, the old trail, the unwanted habit, grows over with grass. The more automatic a healthy habit becomes, the less energy it takes to maintain it, freeing your willpower for new challenges. Discipline turns into a way of life. Modern author James Clear, in Atomic Habits, advises aiming for just 1% improvement each day. At first, the change is nearly invisible, but over time, those tiny gains compound into massive results. No heroic bursts are needed, nor are they sustainable. The real secret lies in steady consistency, and one day you'll look back and realize, through small steps, a great transformation has taken place. Modern psychology has even introduced the concept of grit, the resilient perseverance of character. Professor Angela Duckworth studied why some people reach the top while others give up. She concluded that the ability to persist and endure toward a goal, despite obstacles, often matters more than natural talent. Talent sets the starting line, but it is character that carries us to the finish. In essence, grit is willpower multiplied by love for what you do. When passion burns within you and you have the endurance to keep it alive through hardship, you become almost unstoppable. Of course, all this sounds noble in theory, but in practice it means facing discomfort. Change is often painful. Every time you resist a temptation, every morning you drag yourself out into the cold air instead of staying in a warm bed. That is a small suffering. So why choose pain voluntarily? Wouldn't it be easier to surrender to weakness and live however you please? Paradoxically, by choosing the smaller pain of effort today, we avoid the far greater pain tomorrow. The pain of disappointment, of wasted time, of lost opportunities. There's a saying, choose the pain of discipline now, or you'll suffer the pain of regret later. When temptation burns and you're ready to give in, remember this balance. A little comfort today can turn into long-lasting suffering tomorrow. But suffering for the sake of a goal is different from meaningless suffering. Austrian psychotherapist Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of concentration camps, wrote, "If life has meaning at all, then suffering must also have meaning." Pain is an inseparable part of existence, but it is up to us to decide what it means. Frankl observed that those who found meaning in their suffering, even in inhuman conditions, whether in serving others, staying faithful to an ideal, or holding on to the dream of seeing loved ones again, retained their dignity and inner strength. They lived for the future, waiting on the other side of their pain. History offers countless examples of how a clear sense of purpose has helped people endure the unimaginable. Nelson Mandela, for instance, spent 27 years in prison, sustained by his dream of freedom for his people. That great goal gave meaning to his suffering and helped him endure. Likewise, each of us can bear far more than we think, if we keep our why firmly in sight. Sometimes meaning is not given to us, we have to create it ourselves. In his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, French existentialist Albert Camus argued that even absurd, monotonous suffering can be conquered by changing our attitude. Camus urged us to imagine Sisyphus happy as he rolls his stone up the hill again and again. Where is his happiness? In the very act of defiance. He accepts his fate, but fills it with his own meaning, his decision not to surrender. In this, Camus saw the highest expression of will, to say yes to life, even when it hurls you against the rocks. The meaning of suffering is deeply personal, but one truth is certain. Pain is often our teacher. Without it, there is no growth. For a seed to sprout, it must break its shell. What is that if not pain? For a person to mature, spiritually or physically, old assumptions and habits must be broken, and that too is painful. After a hard workout, muscles ache, but they grow. After emotional upheaval, we cry and suffer. Yet afterward, we value peace differently and understand ourselves more deeply. Swiss psychologist Carl Jung once observed, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." We often do anything to avoid discomfort, to run from suffering, but escape only prolongs the torment. The darkness of the night of the soul is frightening, yet the darkest night comes just before dawn, and if we endure it, we meet the sunrise renewed. No wonder Ukrainian poet Lesya Ukrainka wrote, "I hope against hope." Despite her lifelong battle with illness, she preserved her strength of spirit and faith. Her famous motto became a symbol of resilience in the face of suffering. Even when hope seems gone, keep hoping, keep fighting, and the light will eventually appear. The Roman philosopher Seneca believed that fate tests those it loves, tempering them for greater deeds. Hardship, he said, strengthens the soul just as physical labor strengthens the body. So meet obstacles not as punishment, but as training, and no effort will ever be wasted. Perhaps right now your struggle feels endless, but remember the sword forged in fire. The blacksmith heats the blade until it glows, strikes it with the hammer, then plunges it into icy water, again and again, until the metal becomes hardened steel. The blows, the heat, the shock of cold, each is necessary for the weapon's strength. So it is with you. Trials and effort shape your soul into something resilient and refined. Hardship gives you form, endurance, and flexibility. It makes you into who you are meant to be. And in the end, willpower is not about exhausting yourself or living in cold asceticism. It is about love. Love for your better self. It is about honoring your dreams and your calling. Willpower is a gentle strength. It doesn't shout, it whispers softly but firmly in your hardest moments. You can do this. I am with you. Keep going. It is your ally, not your enemy. Of course, no one is perfect. You will feel the temptation to give up. There will be days when your resolve seems fragile. That's normal. Willpower is not a fixed state, but a process, a moving balance. What matters is returning to the path each time you stumble. To be demanding of yourself, but also understanding. To learn from the falls and keep walking forward. When you falter, willpower extends a hand to help you rise. Every no to temptation is a yes to your dream. This is how character is forged. This is how your personal story of overcoming is written. And it truly is a story that changes a life. Look back, you are growing even if you don't notice it day by day. Slowly but steadily, your will carries you forward. And with every small step, it is already reshaping your destiny. The ending of this inner struggle is unwritten, and it depends on you. Let it be a victory not over the world, but over yourself. For that, as we know, is the noblest victory of all. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. That strength is already within you. Allow it to lead you forward. May your inner power light the path even in darkness. Keep walking, and one day you will meet your dawn, radiant with new meaning. The road is hard, but it is worth it."